Hello and welcome to Easy Like a Sunday Morn. I'm your host, Shane Lockwood, and this is the 10th of April 2016, and this is episode 53. That means I have made over 52 weeks worth of episodes, and this podcast is over 2 years old. It's supposed to be weekly, but there have been dramas and crap happening, and I'm going to change the focus of this podcast. Don't worry, it'll be very similar to what it normally is, but there'll just be like a shift back to what I had originally intended for this podcast. I want to thank everybody who has listened to this podcast for the last 2 years, and a big welcome aboard to those who are listening for the very first time. Now, what's going on? I'll get to the focus of this podcast in a minute. I'll just explain why I'm doing this. And just to clarify some things, I had to clarify it in my own head before I could clarify it to anybody else. In a recent podcast, a good friend of mine by the name of Steve Davis from the Adelaide Show podcast was interviewed on a podcast called Everything is Rad, that's R-A-D, short for radical, Everything is Rad. And he was asked how many Adelaide podcasts are there. And he mentioned my name, which was great. And he also mentioned this podcast, but he referred to it as the Sunday Morning Come Down. And one, it's not the name of this podcast. Two, that's not what this podcast is about. But I blame myself because I couldn't convey what this podcast was to him, and that was how he interpreted it. Now, the term come down is sort of like it's coming down off a high from either alcohol or some other substance, and it meant the impression I got was he thought this podcast was like a wet blanket for the fun activities of the previous week, but it's not. This podcast is a time out, and it's taken me 3 minutes to get to that point, but it's a time out. It's produced by me, you hear my voice, but the podcast is about you. This is a personal time out. This is 30 minutes out of your week where you can sit back and relax and gather your thoughts, recharge, revitalize, and be re-energized for the coming week. So, depending on where you are currently listening to this podcast, will determine the focus of what you do with this podcast. And other podcasts are them telling you what to do, what to think, what to say, and whatnot, right? Now, they are very entertaining, they are very upbeat and hilarious podcasts and things like that. But this podcast is different. If you are listening to this, and this is based on your feedback, if you're listening to this in your bed, then you are probably using my voice to help you relax and unwind and help you to sleep. You're using this podcast as white noise. And I'm not offended by that. I'm not offended by that at all. I just want people to listen. So you're calm, relaxed, very easy to drift off, and you won't miss anything, right? If you are sitting on your couch or in your favorite armchair or on the sofa, then you are listening to this possibly with either a glass of Chardonnay or possibly a beer in your hand, and you are listening to this to relax and unwind and just to let go of the events of the previous week. It's 30 minutes where you don't have to think about anything at all. You just let things go and you hand the reins over to me. I will be your pilot for the next 30 minutes, and you can just sit back and just enjoy the show. If you are listening to this at your desk, maybe you are doing some data entry, you listen to this podcast as a distraction, as a way of not being aware of the mundane thing that you have to do right now. It's a way of distracting your mind, and so what you're doing goes a lot faster because you have a non-noisy distraction. It's just a mild distraction. It's enough to keep your senses busy, but it's not enough to stop you from doing what it is that you want to do. If you are standing while listening to this, there's a good chance that you are about to be running or jogging or exercising, and this podcast is a great way to take your mind off of the mundane exercises that you have to do in the gym, or whether you're going for a walk or going for a run. This is that perfect 30-minute distraction from what it is that you're doing. If you are sitting at your kitchen table or dining room table and you have a pad and a pen, you may use this podcast as a 30-minute window with which to plan the rest of your week, maybe food preparation if you are dieting or you are on the go. You can write out a menu, you can write out a shopping list, you can just pause and reflect on the events of the week, the things you've got to do during the week, things that you need, things that need to be done before you start on Monday morning again, meetings that you might need to have, homework, things like that. But just 30 minutes of a bit of a timeout where you can just sit back and relax. Maybe you're sitting on the floor. Maybe you're lying down on the floor. Maybe you're meditating. Maybe you are just trying to cope with the dramas of life. This is a 30-minute window where that is not happening. You can just shut the world out. But what I'm going to do is hopefully use this podcast, not me use it, I'm going to use it to make my life easier and to make your life easier. But this is not a come down. This is a springboard to bigger and better things. You know, if you jump on a diving board, right, the purpose of a diving board is to propel you upwards while you dive. But there's also a downward motion. when you land on a diving board, the very tip of the diving board, it has to bend down in order to project you upwards. That's what this podcast does. It allows you to do it. I'm not doing it. You are doing it for yourself and in your own life. When we were kids, in order to climb out of the swimming pool, because some of us didn't have ladders, for those of us who did have access to swimming pools, what we would do was, because our arms weren't strong enough to pull us out of the pool, we'd do this thing where you use your muscles to push yourself up a little bit, but then you drop down into the water, right? And it's counterintuitive, but when you drop down into the water, the inertia, because of the displacement of the water, pushes you back up again, right? So you go down, and then with the upward motion, you then, at that right moment, use your arms to propel yourself out of the water and climb out, right? The water will push the rest of your body up, but it's a split-second thing, all right? If you are walking home from the shops, or from the shops to your car, or whatever, right? You've got heavy bags, plastic bags, and in each hand, and the plastic is starting to cut into your hand, right? You've got a long way to go. What do? Why not stop halfway through and just put the bags down? Rest your hands so they heal a little bit, and then pick up the bags again, renewed, refreshed, re-energized, all right? And you find your muscles could enjoy the rest, right? And then you can pick up your shopping and walk the rest of the way without dramas. And that's what this podcast is. It's about taking today and the rest of your life and the rest of the week easy like a Sunday morn. It's not about trying to market something to you. It's not about trying to push an agenda or a belief system, because my opinions on certain things have changed over the years. I no longer believe in a lot of the conspiracy stuff. I no longer believe in a lot of religious ideas. But I still have moral standards, but my morality comes from inside rather than outside. My ideas of who I am change. But the other thing is that there are little things that you can do with this space. You can write a list of the clutter that needs to be removed from your life, whether it's cleaning up your house, getting rid of old paperwork and items that you don't want. Have a garage sale. Sell all the stuff that you don't want, books that you've read, but they're just gathering dust. There was a joke I heard today about the guy who was going to sell the vacuum cleaner because it was doing nothing but gathering dust. It's a terrible joke, I know, and poorly told. Removing clutter and the detractors from your life, the trolls and the fake friends, the people that mean well, or rather they promise a lot but deliver very little. There are people in your life, and they are not your supporters. They are haters. They are people that hate you. But they'll put on a brave face and a fake smile, and they'll get as close to you as they possibly can. But here's the thing. use this space. Use a 30-minute timeout, right? Set some goals. Do not tell your friends your goals, right? Don't tell anybody what your plans are until after you've done them, because you'll get opposition. And the reason, and this is something to look out for and listen for. Pick a goal. Write a list of goals of things that you want to achieve before the end of the year. And next week you can use this space to check on your progress. But pick one of those things and just mention it casually to a friend, and you listen for their response. Is it positive? Or is what you're going to do something that they think is impossible? Are they bringing up opposition to what you want to do? Are they going to say, oh, no, that's too hard? And they will come up with an opposition as to reasons why you cannot do something. And it's terrible. It's horrible. But unless you're aware of what's going on, right? And this happens every day, right? There are people holding you back, keeping you down. These are the people that talk rubbish about you behind your back, right? These are the people that say, oh, you don't do anything. But these are the people that have their foot on your throat, stopping you from fighting back, stopping you from being the person that you want to be, stopping you from operating at your maximum potential, right? Or rather, you are letting them do it because you're not aware of them doing it. But once you become aware of this, you start building up a defense, right? So this is what this is. This is what this podcast is. It's a time out where you can springboard back up again. You've had to deal with the crap of last week. Let all that go, and you'll have to deal with the crap of next week. But in the middle, you've put the shopping down. You've put the weights down. You've put the garbage down. And you can sort through it all. You have mental clarity. You have energized, revitalized, and refocused your life to a laser-pointed focus. But there has to be a catalyst. You have to change. You have to get up and do it. Start doing it. What's the catalyst? What is the thing that's holding you back? What is the thing that will trigger you to explode into doing whatever it is that you want to do? Who are the people that are holding you back? You will build up a barrier to those people. You build up boundaries and say, look, you can't cross this. There are people that will sap your time and sap your energy because they don't listen to this podcast. They do not know how to sort out their own troubles. All they need is 30 minutes just to write a list of what they believe and what the issues are and stuff like that. You can achieve a lot in 30 minutes. You can achieve half a weightlifting workout. I found out recently that you're supposed to be lifting weights for at least an hour a day. But these are small weights and things like that. I can't do that. I'm not up to that point. But I've been working out all wrong because I had the wrong advice. Because people were trying to sacrifice me, to sabotage me. That's not a conspiracy. There are people doing that in your life, and you have to be aware of it. And there are people that want you fired. There are people that are trying to get you sacked. There are people that are talking to your boss right now about you behind your back so that they are in a favourable position when things go down. There are people that audit what you do. There are people going around taking photos of all of your mistakes where you work. They get paid to do this. All right, this is something I didn't know. That's not conspiracy. That's fact, right? I lost my job because there were people that weren't working. They were there on the payroll, but their sole goal was to try and find a way for me to be fired. I was doing my job until they started placing traps for me. And one of those traps was to place a pizza box in an office. So what do? It's in the boss's office. It's the boss's pizza. But it's stinking up the office. So what do? Do you throw it out or you leave it there? And my advice would be to leave it there, but then you're in trouble either way. Why didn't you throw the pizza out? If you throw the pizza out, why'd you throw the pizza out? If you don't, why didn't you throw the pizza out? It was stinking up the office. So you're in a catch-22, and they do little traps like that, and you have to be on the ball the whole time. But this is a safe space where you have time to sort out your life, remove the clutter, remove the detractors, remove the trolls, remove all the fake friends, right? You can work on your own personal growth, your own health and fitness. Do a 30-minute meditation. Do 30 minutes of a workout DVD. You can sort out your life with the 30-minute gap. You can do whatever you want, but do something. I will talk about specific examples of people that have tried to hold me back, and they've succeeded. And I'm going to change things in my life. There are artists. Say, for example, you're an artist and you draw or you paint. And I know people who are artists who listen to this. I have always been encouraging of anybody and everybody, because I know that there are resources out there on YouTube or whatever that will teach you how to draw. You have to find your own method of doing things. But there are artists out there who cop a lot of flack from other artists, and they'll attack each other. There are YouTubers that attack each other. And you've got to stop and think, hang on, you could be producing content that people actually want to watch. Now, there are people that want to watch drama, and you're catering for the drama, right? But it takes away from you producing content, you producing art, good, bad, or indifferent. It stops you from producing proper content. I know artists who they'll post on Facebook, oh, there's people saying my art's crap and all this sort of stuff. And these are artists with 20 years of daily experience, right? They will make you cry with how good their artwork is, right? And I have nothing but positive things to say about these people, because their art is absolutely brilliant. I know people that they win Photographer of the Year in South Australia, right? I won't mention names. I know people that do all sorts of art and stuff, right? I used to go to a comic meeting, or it was a meeting of writers and artists, and I just got to a point where I said, I'm just going to draw up some panels and draw my own comic. And being aware of the opposition to this guy said to me, and this guy had been to art college, or he'd been to university, right, for the last 4 years. So he's got an art degree and he's teaching as an arts teacher, right? And the first thing he said to me was, not all panels are the same. Not all panels have to be the same size and all this sort of stuff. So I went home and I didn't draw any panels. A panel is like the square boxes that the comic strips actually go in. Now, they can be different shapes and sizes and stuff like that, but most comics are a 3 or 4 panel strip. Like a Garfield is 3 panels, right? If you look at you can count the panels. A Garfield strip is normally 3 panels. There's setup, there's the joke, and then there's sort of like a punchline or whatever, right? There's the situation, there's the setup in the first panel, there's the lead up to the joke in the second panel, and there's the punchline in the third one. You know, Hagar the Horrible, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 panels. Something like The Phantom might be 4 or 5 panels because it's an action comic and things like that. And I just was, you know, there are people that present opposition, doesn't matter what you do. And there are people that will paint you as the villain to try and make you better, to try and make themselves better than you in the eyes of everybody else. There are people that will ostracize you in different groups, and you think, hang on, the ostracization is the evil thing. And you have to be aware of that. Anyway, I'm getting very, very preachy. There's a million things that I wanted to talk about. Easter. I hope you had a great Easter. I didn't do an Easter show because I wanted to keep this sort of separate from that. And I have done an Easter show. I did one last year. And what else? Oh, no, I did it in the first year, I think. April Fools, I avoided that, so that's why there was a gap between episodes. Batman vs. Superman, I didn't like it. I did not like it. You may like it, but it got 29% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's terrible. There were great scenes. It was just put together rather haphazardly, and it was just, the whole thing was like an insult to your intelligence, and I just, no. And if they took the ideas from the original comics and they deviated from them too far. They made Superman an emo, depressed, rather than being the paragon of virtue and justice that he should be. George Lucas was in Adelaide a while back, and thankfully there weren't too many dickheads that ruined his experience. He's here to support his wife. I think I talked about that a couple of weeks ago. But what's your catalyst? What's the thing that will trigger you to be the best person that you can possibly be? And I'm starting to repeat myself now. But if you enjoy what I do, and I've got 2 minutes to go, all right? So if you enjoy what I do, please tell a friend. Please click like, a thumb up, or whatever, because it helps me a lot. After last week's show, the ratings actually spiked on Spreaker. I think because of, not Spreaker, they spiked on Stitcher because I think I was talking about weight loss and things like that. And I will talk about various aspects of health and whatnot as we go forward. But each episode I may refer back to this being as a timeout for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. Use it as a timer, a 30-minute timer for a workout or whatever. Please consider joining the Facebook group, and please consider possibly donating to the show. You can donate through PayPal at Shane_Lockwood@hotmail.com. And I know a few people that don't have PayPal or don't know how to use it. That's fine. As long as you are using the code word. I've got 30 seconds. April is the code word. Code word is April, APRIL. And may today, the rest of the day, and the rest of this week be easy like a Sunday morn. Anyway, catch you next week. Please enjoy. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll have a lot more to say next time. I promise. Anyway, that's all from me today. Look after yourselves. Bye for now.